What else? So if with else if. There, this example here is useful in making decisions which involve multiple conditions. Oftentimes you want to sort of like decode a series of conditions, but all of the conditions are related. So what you'd like to do is, in this particular if-else, what you want to do, you may want to say, if customer type equals this, then do this particular discount. Otherwise, you want to analyze yet another customer type C, whatever that stands for, right? And you want to do a different discount. Yet again, then you want to say, okay, if they have enough items purchased, so the subtotal is greater than 100, you still want to give them this particular discount. And otherwise, you want to say, well, if none of the above works, then the discount will be like 0.1%. Okay. So how was it possible to do this? So logically, this makes sense. You want to say, okay, this is the highest priority expression. If this particular customer type is to be the case, then definitely do this. By the way, if this is true, at, at the same time, you don't want for any of this to take place. All otherwise specified must be ignored. Okay, so how does it work? So let's well, perhaps let's do a little demo of this. Let's switch back to our little program, which does nothing useful, just explores, different different statements. So let me define the customer type. So the customer type right here. I'm thinking this should be a string. String customer type. Okay, let customer type be C maybe to begin with. And then also there's a discount percent which should be at least declared, which I'm expecting should be double maybe at this point. Double, and I will set it equals 0.0, which is sort of like a typical initialization for a double, right? Then remember, I really like this format option, so that it fixes the indentation so that my program doesn't look messy. So what happens is that we say, if this condition is true, clearly we want this to happen. Okay. Otherwise, we want to analyze other conditions. Oh, by the way, there's also subtotal, right? So subtotal may be, I don't know, another double, right? So double subtotal. Okay, whatever that is. And maybe for clarity's sake, this should also say, 0.0 to indicate that this is a double number. I also prefer to add some extra spaces for maybe improved readability, but it's your choice. Now, if I move this to the next line, and if I move this to the next line, and if I move, essentially, let me do this. It will look a little longer, but I will do this as an exercise. I will move all of the braces and if statements to the next line. So I have a few more to consider here. I apologize that it looks a little messy to begin with, but doing my thing again, source, format, ah, it, it really uh, doesn't want me to do what I just did uh, with those braces. But so I'll do it manually this time. Just be careful to break everything and put it on the next line. Okay, bear with me. I'm really trying to get there. Okay. So here's my analysis of this situation. Uh, in case of in case of um, if this is true, right, then this else will be shut down and never taken into consideration. Which means what? This else on its own contains, so let me now carefully format everything that I have, okay, to make it look nice. Okay, just to construct this. Okay, something like that. And this is obviously the closing brace for main method, right? So that's another good reason to use braces, because sometimes it's not obvious, is this part of my if statement or is it part of closing brace for method main. So anyway, I seem to have formatted everything the way I wanted to format. And what happens is that if this condition is true, then clearly this will execute. Anything that follows else will not execute. Because there is no opening brace here. What I have is this if statement, which is what the body of else clause really is in my case. If this condition is false, then we're going to follow this path. And this if statement now will take place. It evaluates its own condition, and if the condition is true, this will execute. So remember, this didn't work because this was false. So now this was true, and so this now executes. The else part will shut off and will be sort of like a stop sign for this particular branch of execution. And so this if statement will never be evaluated. Because again, there is no opening brace here. It's just an else that says else and immediately says if and does something else. So what I am trying to convince you about is that this structure, which by the way also is called if-else ladder, because it looks like steps, like this this thread, then another thread of the step, another thread of the step, and so forth. But the choices here truly are mutually exclusive based on the sequence of analyzed conditions. For example, if now this condition is false, then this will never execute, right? So to begin with, this condition was false. Now this condition is also false. So customer type is like, I don't know, Z, something else, right? So now clearly we follow this path. And so we analyze this condition. If this condition is true, now this will execute. So we really were able to figure a way to construct an if-else sequence or if-else ladder, which truly creates a set of mutually exclusive choices of executable sections of our program, and they're all based on sequential evaluation of these conditions, right? So this is how it works. Just to know that if you have the series of these conditions and you construct this if-else ladder, which really looks like this, right? This is what you're going to see in code. I purposely formatted this in this kind of ladder format to show you that they're all chained. They're not independent if statements. They're all chained into the previous else, which of course is chained into its own if statement, which in this case is chained to the previous else. of the previous if statement. So they're all a chain of statements. So they're really linked together. So then say, well, how do I then analyze multiple conditions? Well, perhaps, again, what you could do other things inside. So if something else, do something else. Uh, that's a different story. So basically, you're saying, if this condition is true, I would also like to analyze other conditions. So that should happen within the body of this if statement. In my case, the task or the line of thinking was, how do I indeed create a series of mutually exclusive conditions so that with respect to the outcomes of each single one, you will execute only one particular statement. So we have unique cases here to consider. With respect to this, I also would like to add that perhaps, let me actually save this.